Welcome to our Houston estate project. We have so much to look at here. Instead of our typical decor to work with, we had framed jerseys and corks and baseballs and bats and the World Series trophy, no big deal. It is because our client, Jason Castro, is a baseball player. It's 9,000 square feet designed from the ground up, and it's truly one of the most unique homes we have ever designed. When we work on a custom home from the ground up, we have the opportunity to collaborate with the architect and the builder and the client to set the vision for the home. And with our client, they really wanted a mix of modern, traditional, and a hint of glamour. And that's a combination that we're not asked to create often. And so I was so excited, and so was our team, to really be able to create something one of a kind. And you will see that in every finish and selection throughout this home. The finishes in this entryway set the tone for the entire home. You can see this really great movement and texture that you'll see carried throughout all the main spaces and ceilings in the home. We did a plaster finish on all of the neutral walls of the home and onto the ceiling, and Segredo Finishes helped us create this beautiful custom color that has lots of movement, and it really just embraces you when you walk into every space. On the floor of the entryway, it is a showstopper when you walk in. It's a reclaimed octagon and dot tile from Italy, and it has this gorgeous patina. And when you're designing a new home, you really actually want it to feel not new, which I know sounds crazy, but that's what gives it warmth and interest. Whether it's through the finishes or the furniture and accessories, goes a long way to doing that. We also created a really unique focal point with the design of this staircase. So we custom designed this like beautiful kind of like swirl at the end, and then we have these brass caps. Even down to the shape of these balusters here was designed by our team. And I love that you get this kind of like curved edge at the base that ties in with the curvature of what's happening in the corner of this entry. With this curvature here, we would have had to place the console kind of off, and then whatever happened above it would be off center. So we thought, well, what looks good with asymmetrical art? And I really, really wanted to create this vignette of kind of off-kilter artwork with this gorgeous settee. So this is actually our Prudence settee from McGee & Co., but we've customized it in an incredible way. So we did this beautiful textile, and our team made sure that this pattern carries onto these custom bolsters, and you can see the pattern carries all the way down. And this bold pattern sitting on top of the bold pattern on the floors is absolutely breathtaking when you walk in. Then we paired it with this vignette here of kind of a mix of styles of artwork. And you'll see throughout the home, like our client loves bold artwork, and so there's a lot of vignettes that we've created to show that off. With some of these more contemporary shapes happening, I was dead set on having an antique mirror, and so we found this gorgeous mirror that has the kind of like weathered antiquing, some flecking throughout, adds that hint of gold to the space. On one side, I have the formal dining room, and on the other, I have the formal living room. And instead of just transitioning the tile to the wood, there is a brass transition that happens between, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I'm gonna take you over to the dining room first. I love that in the architecture, we have these gorgeous dental moldings on the outside of the space. And then we did this really nice combination of painted trim that matches the grass cloth exactly. So you get this dramatic effect happening throughout. I love that in this room, every selection is a statement, and it works in a way that is very impactful when you walk into the home. We have a solid travertine table that kind of grounds the space, velvet barrel back chairs, and the two most iconic pieces in this space are the light fixture. It is funky and fun and statement making, and I love that it's not something that you would typically associate with the Studio McGee aesthetic. When we design these high-end projects, we often do custom furniture, and we will ship them in from other countries. And this was manufactured exactly to our specifications in France, and it was delivered like days before this install. So we were all holding our breath. And I love that it kind of has this wavy movement that ties in with the barrel back chairs and even the curvature on the chandelier. We have bold artwork that incorporates color and is one of the first things that you see when you walk into the home. When we are mixing modern and traditional, and really just in any home that we design, I love to do some vintage surprises and incorporate family heirlooms if I can. And with these new pieces in the space, we needed some vintage to really just create that mix. And so we have a vintage rug on the floor, but then I'm gonna take you over to one of my favorite spots in this dining room. We created this display area here that relates back to the finish on their cabinetry in other areas of the home. And you would never just say, okay, like let's put grandma's china next to some of these like bold pieces. The colors work perfectly with the really modern artwork, and it's these kind of surprises that make design interesting. Last but not least, we've talked about how our client collects art, and we, instead of just hanging the artwork, we actually did a picture rail here, and so you're getting that dimensionality of it hanging off of this great brass chain. So the color in here is actually the same as what's happening in the formal living room. So the moldings and the ceiling are the same color, and then we differentiated the two by having millwork in one and then the grass cloth on the other. Later on, I'm gonna show you that behind these two cute doors is their pantry, but you'll have to wait for that. So we're gonna walk across the entryway to the formal living room. This vantage point from the staircase and the floors all the way down is one of my favorite views in the home. I'm gonna say this every single time we walk into one of the rooms, but this is one of my favorite rooms in the home. Instead of doing grass cloth, we did a really beautiful millwork treatment on all of the walls, and that helps them kind of feel balanced on either side of the entryway, but still different. One thing I love to do in dark spaces is match the drapery to the paint color, because it creates a more immersive experience than contrasting drapes, which is a good look too, but in here I really wanted it to feel dramatic. As far as the living room goes, we centered everything on the fireplace, and we did a plaster light fixture that helps create some continuity between the plaster walls and other parts of the home. So over in this corner, we did the seating area with an olive green velvet on the chairs, and I love that we created an atypical arrangement. So we have the game table grouping, and then we have this conversational grouping, and it helps make sense of the layout and flow of the room. Instead of painting the built-in, we actually stained it and designed it to be more like a piece of furniture with these really pretty drop pulls and then small drawers throughout, and used a lot of our clients' pieces in the styling. And we kept them more tonal to the built-in so that you kind of get this dark effect on all of the walls surrounding the room, and then all the lightness happens in the furniture in the center. I have been a fan of mixing styles since the beginning of my career. And if you are out to blend aesthetics, then the key is not to just choose one room that's modern and one room that's traditional. It's about interesting pairings and carrying that throughout your home. So we have these really traditional chairs set against this curvy sofa and this bold lamp in the corner. And it works together because we're paying attention to shapes and tones and also really just embracing the mix. One of my favorite features in this room is actually not technically in this room, but it is this barrel hallway that has a raked plaster on the sides and alabaster lights that light it up, and it is magical when you walk through. One thing that I love that the architect did is that they dropped the ceiling height of the barrel so that it feels really cozy and intimate, and it is a really fun surprise when you walk through. Ready for this? We got this.
Where do I put my hands?
Sid was always the worst because he'd be filming and then he'd be like, and I talk with my hands like this all the time. So I have a special guest with me today, and that is Erin Stetzer, builder extraordinaire. And you know, as designers, we visualize and we dream about these homes and draw them, but these ideas have to come to life in some way. And Erin and her team made these dreams come to life. And so we're going to talk about what it takes, the craftsmanship, the level of detail and attention that goes into creating a beautiful custom home like this. So I'm going to be the interviewer today. So let's start in the entryway. We walk through this beautiful door, and this isn't just any old door. Our clients really wanted a door that had light coming through, but also offered privacy. We had this idea to do this double steel door with ribbed glass. How long did it take to make this door?
8 months.
8 months, right? So
8 months!
Yeah, and it takes quite the team, and you talk about how teams really need to be a right fit for each other, and that's exactly how it worked with Studio McGee. So really at frame stage, we were, presenting ideas, your team was drafting, we were then remeasuring several times, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, reframing, and then talking about thresholds and hinges and glass size and thickness. So
you have something in your car. What do you call it?
So it's the Studio McGee Bible. It's about this event, and I'm not kidding.
So we create what we call the Design Bible, and that has all of the drawings and specifications and all of those dreams we're talking about. We do this for all of our custom homes. We don't just put an inspirational picture on a board. We take that idea and we draw it, and then Erin's team is here on the ground saying, well, we need to move this by 1/2 inch, or it's very minuscule what you're looking at.
All of the pieces in this home are custom made. There's not one thing off the shelf, not one thing. We had, probably 20 meetings about the casing size.
I mean, I think that from an outside perspective, when this is done, it feels easy, right? And that's how it's supposed to feel. It's just supposed to feel like it came together so smoothly, but it's not that easy to take a drawing and then just end up here, right? So what are the steps?
Right, so we do start with the drawing,
yeah,
right? The inspiration, and we're also given certain dimensions. So this is a really good example. We start off with coloring with your team. So you wanted a lacquered brass for the shoes, a certain type of shoe. And then you wanted tapered banisters, right? That then land in about a 1/2 inch size, maybe 3/8, to what would be considered a normal size handrail up top here. So this could be 2 inches, it could be 1.5 inches, could be 2 1/4 inches. So this is probably in the range of what might be normal in construction. Everything else is custom made.
And I would say sampling is one of the key differentiators between a quick home and a custom home. For me, when I'm working with high-end builders that really love their craft and are good at it, they sample everything. And it's not just an assumption, it's seeing and feeling and touching and getting the finishes and the scale just right. So we have confidence that when this is installed, we're all on the same page and we know what we're getting into and we're going to like the result.
And my job and your team's job is to get them positioned so that they are 100% sure of what they're executing on, and then they go.
This entryway has one other little surprise. Do you want to show us?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this happened during construction, and the client said, hey, we're going to put our mailbox. And of course we collaborated. This is the fancy mailbox.
Look how cute! So we're getting to the main living spaces of the home. And starting with the kitchen, we have a few things to talk about there. So there's a lot to love about this kitchen. So, I mean, I could spend all day asking you, questions about how we made it come to life, but we're gonna focus on a couple.
Okay.
And first up, this countertop profile on the island. We wanted this like high profile with this, bullnose edge, and we wanted it to feel very unique. And we thought it would just be as simple as just doing your countertop with this profile. But turns out it wasn't.
The first part of the phasing of selecting countertops is to go out and find your slabs. So Studio McGee worked really hard to find slabs with the clients, and with the size of this countertop or this island, we're at about 12 feet. And when you get this long, this wide, it's a really heavy surface, and it also has an integrated sink. And that plays into the seaming structure of this island. So there's a lot of weight, there's a lot of compression, and then there's there's a 16-inch overhang. So we get into this, we go ahead and set the slab down, and this thing's about to fall off. So we pull everything out. We run steel bars, every 24 inches across this island, reset the island, and we're still a little bit nervous about its weight. So then we added steel below, which would be these little brackets here that really they're hard to find. And the challenge here is we wanted someone to be able to still sit in this area and be comfortable. So it just sort of goes away with the island, but this, you could, throw 8 kids up here dancing all over it, and it.
So while this was happening, I'm getting text messages from Caitlin on our team, like with images of the subs trying to hold the island together and saying, what do we do to cover the steel brackets? So our team acted really quickly and said, let's create these like kind of L-shaped brackets on here to hide the steel. And so now we have that support. It's completely integrated. You would never know that we ran into any hiccups, and we came up with a solution. And so,
very quickly.
And solution finding is part of the job. The marble in this kitchen is a really big statement, from an integrated sink to this edge profile to the backsplash and the niches. This isn't just 2 pieces stuck together. I mean, it is 2 pieces stuck together, but it's done in a really beautiful way.
So if you look at this backsplash, there's a seam in the middle. Slabs come in certain sizes, and so we needed a seam. This is a really long backsplash. So this is called a book match seam.
So you can just take the 2 slabs and put them together.
Yes.
And that's not our favorite way to install a backsplash or a countertop, because then the veining doesn't really match. The other way would be a book match, which means that you can see that there's like a center point, and then it like goes out from there. Like
a book.
Like a book.
Yes.
Exactly. And so you don't just make the assumption that the installer is going to do that. You have to specify it. So if you want that beautiful look with the veining that you see here, specify book match. And you also have to pick a slab that can do that.
Yes, that's right. And before we even fabricate this, there's a drawing that the fabricators actually design. We review a drawing, Studio McGee reviews the drawing. You may make some tweaks, I'd like the slab to be cut over here and book match. So lots of drawings for approvals.
You can ask for that. So like if you're building your home and you've picked this gorgeous marble that you're investing in, you can ask the fabricator to show you the template so that you can say, you know what, this is the vein that I like. There's this really gorgeous vein that goes through the countertop and I want it front and center. So can we shift things over a little bit? You have that, but it just requires communication, or else a lot of assumptions are made. And I think you get a more custom look when, not I think, you get a more custom look when you have that communication.
For sure. And then even the outlets you can see in the backsplash here. So the outlets were hand painted so to replicate the marble. Yeah. So everything just flows in this kitchen. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. I love that you guys got to meet Erin. She is an incredible builder and we have the opportunity to work with many across the country, and she is a standout. In this kitchen, I have so much to show you. We talked about the countertop edge detail, but I feel like we should just admire that one more time. Also, you'll notice that these countertops sit up a little higher. So, you know, our client, he's tall. We do this actually in a lot of our homes. When a client is taller, they often like the countertops to sit up a little bit higher. And so these are at 38 inches instead of the standard 36. This is made out of the same countertop material. So it has this cool sloped edge so that the water drains in, and then the entire sink is made from the same Calcutta that you see both on the island and the backsplash here. So this backsplash is really long and it makes a statement. When we were designing this range wall here, we wanted to do a floating shelf, and we kind of had to play with the dimensions here because with our client being tall, we ended up raising this a couple of inches, and then we also incorporated a pot filler, and so we had to get that height just right. And I love to do like little niches on the sides of ranges if I have the chance. And so when we were designing this, we decided to do this frame around the edge out of the wall material so that you could get some space to create a recess. We love a good range moment. We have this black LaConche range here, and I love that it kind of just creates this moment of depth and you can't miss it in the kitchen, which is exactly what we wanted here. When we design these niches, I mean, honestly, just in a lot of kitchens we design, pretty much all of them, I look for a moment to incorporate a sconce or some sort of light fixture that's a task light or additional ambient lighting outside of the pendant lights over the island. And so here we did this little envelope sconce, and so it illuminates what's happening in this little niche. This is the kitchen, and there is also a pantry that's the size of another kitchen, and so I'm gonna take you there next. So off of the kitchen, you have this bar area, and then it also has double doors into the dining room because our clients like to entertain a lot. This gives them quick access to both of those locations. This is the most light-filled pantry we've ever designed. There are windows on 2 walls. So we did dark cabinetry everywhere and brass hardware. So what's not to love in here? It's so beautiful. We have a massive vintage rug in the middle. And then I love to do dark countertops on dark cabinets, like in my own mudroom. That's one of my favorite combinations to do. And so we have this really great soapstone that sits on top of this dark blue cabinetry. And when we were designing this space, we went through several iterations of designs and where to keep them closed and open. And ultimately we decided to create kind of like a bridge. So you have these towers on the end with lots of workspace, but then also we did a run of cabinets across the top, and they have reeded glass fronts to match back to what we did in the kitchen. And we also we kind of have a mix of everything in here. We have open, we have closed, we have tall cabinets, we have little cubbies, and then these are the 2 cute doors that lead into the dining area. When designing this kitchen nook, we started with the light fixtures because those are often selected pretty early in the process. And we loved that this piece blended the brass and a dark metal together, which is a combination that you see in several areas of the home. The seating in here, we had to look at a lot of options because our client wanted something really comfortable and upholstered, but they have young kids and upholstery can be tricky with young kids. So we wanted to select something at the island that didn't have upholstery so it was more easily cleaned. But then here, what we did was we created a combination where we did a leather on the seat and then we did a performance fabric on the back. So you're getting this really great punch of pattern in this space, but also cleanability on the seat. We did a table that has these arched edges, and you'll see that that shape relates directly to the shape that's happening on the opening from the kitchen area into the living room. Behind me, you can't miss this beautiful piece of artwork. So Tyler, again, has been an Instagram buddy of mine, and knowing our clients collect art, introduced them to his work and they fell in love with this piece. And not only did they fall in love with this piece, we were also really happy that the color palette worked really well for this entire space. The large scale is a statement when you walk in and it fills this wall really nicely. With this having height here, we wanted to balance out what was happening on the other side, but not with more artwork. And we also didn't want to do a console because the table is about that height, and then we have the island over here that's about that height. So we did our Heath cabinet from McGee & Co, and it works perfectly in this space. You get some glass for display and then closed storage below, and this really great bolt detail as the hardware.